This is my version of the LEGO Dreamzzz Space Bus. I bought 2 of the original set and built them into this specially modified version with a full interior. And I'm going to give you a full tour, but first let's check out how I built the thing. Here's a progress video on this Dreamzzz spaceship. Here's the cockpit, which I've left pretty much exactly as it was. Cool opening feature, 2 little seats in there, basically the same, but the way it hooks up to the rest of the ship is pretty different. And then this school bus part, I just really liked that because it's fun and whimsical, but I wanted to make it a lot bigger. The original version had like 4 studs worth of space inside, and this one has 8 studs, so that's a lot better. I can actually fit a few things in there, but it'll still do the little cool opening up thing once I get the other side built. And the wings are mostly the same, and then this back portion will be an airlock, and I'll probably extend this because it's not quite long enough. The other thing I want to do is add some landing gear. And that's why this ramp needs to be a lot longer, because once it's got landing gear, the ramp needs to get all the way to the ground. So that'll be one of the main ways to get into the spaceship, is through that little airlock. And then the other way would be through this opening cockpit. The spaceship is turning out pretty well. So we've got this neck part that needs to be filled out, and I have a few little studs on the side to make sure that I can attach some studs not on top. We've got this main sort of body, the school bus sort of part, and it opens up really nicely. And we can see some interior coming along. We've got a bunk here. I'm gonna put one more. Here's a toilet, although I found some other parts that would probably be better suited for that. We'll see, maybe I'll change it out. Back here is an airlock. We've got the beginnings of a door right here, and then this is the outside door, which I lengthened so that it can fold down. I want to put landing gear, so we do need that longer ramp so it actually can reach the ground. One thing I want to change though are these wings. Let's close this back up. The wings are mostly original. I just made them a little thicker, and they just look kind of dinky now in comparison to the original model. And I have a bunch of these now. I have 4 of them because this is 2 of these sets that I'm trying to put together. So I think I'm going to make the wings quite a bit wider. We're just going to use these parts to make something like roughly like that. This is not exact, but we'll see. This ship is coming along really nicely. So we've got the neck sort of filled out here. Remember that there were some studs facing out, and I just filled it in basically and tore up the sides, and then kind of try to make it look somewhat like the original. This top now has this cool little locking mechanism. And let's see if I can open this up with one hand. There we go. And the interior, we've got our bunks. We've got a little galley with an hourglass. Here's the head or bathroom. Little sink, toilet. The airlock, I had to completely rebuild it because I was squeezing it to push apart onto these studs on the outside, and it smashed, it exploded, or I guess it imploded actually. So I rebuilt it, and here's the airlock as it is now. There's some handles to grip onto if you're weightless and floating around in space. I don't know who that guy is, I don't remember his name. And I still need to rebuild the inside doors. Also, there's this piece, which is so cool, I wanted to use it. So I think this is like some sort of holographic TV or something like that. The cockpit still opens. The cockpit is basically the same except for this outside skin. And the next steps will be to add some cool things like engines. The ship needs engines. And maybe some weapon systems, maybe tails, maybe it'll be a gas freighter or something, and it'll have big canisters for shipping helium-3 or something. The airlock is coming along. I've got the walls and the roof built. In some cases, I had to get a little weird with the piece use. Like for instance, I would usually not use a brick or multiple bricks for a roof, but in this case, I wanted to use the parts, and they were 8 studs long, so it worked. And also, I put all these slopey kind of pieces here, and created some engines, and these engines also have this ability to fire these little cannons. And the engines can also rotate around a little bit. Here again, I had to get a little creative with parts use, so I'm going to take an engine off if I can. And these parts are little slopes. No, wait, arches. And this is definitely not the kind of thing I would normally want to use for this placement, but that's the part I had available. So there it is. It's finally finished. This is the Lego Dreamzzz Space Bus. Well, actually it's 2 sets of the Lego Dreamzzz Space Bus, all built into one, well, I was gonna say giant space bus. It's not giant, you know, it's still a space bus, but it's a lot bigger and it's got a lot more stuff to it. So let's do a full tour here. So here's the cockpit. It's basically the same. There's really no difference, no change here, because I thought the cockpit was just so cool. I love how this closes up. It just seems perfect. Why change it? There is one change in the cockpit, which is that I put a bunch more plates here to make sure that it would join up with the rest of the ship. So this outside actually is completely different. Everything else on the cockpit is completely the same. And then as we go a little further aft, this is now 10 studs wide. It used to be 6 studs wide, a little 4 stud wide interior. And now it's got a pretty decent interior. It's got bunks, a couple bunks, and a little bathroom or head with a toilet and sink. There's a little door. There's a galley. Here's the airlock. And these doors, they're not the easiest to open, actually. There we are. And we've got an airlock interior. I'll show that from the other angle. So, airlock. So it's kind of a fully functional little ship. Not big, but it's got all the stuff. It's got its airlock, living kind of space, place to fly the ship. It's got wings, it has engines. The engines I think I showed before that they can rotate. Although I think I modified this quite a bit between now and the previous video I shot. Also, this engine rotates so that I can rotate it so that I can activate the little stud shooter function, and we can make it shoot little studs. And I've never seen those studs again. They're lost, they're gone. But the biggest change that I made from the previous video is this ship has landing gear. Check it out. And the landing gear, they support the weight of the vehicle, which is now twice what it used to be, more or less. And the landing gear can also fold up. So let's demonstrate those landing gear. They can fold up. And there we go. So the ship is in flight. Oh, look at it go. And then, okay, it's time to land. So we open up those landing gear and come in for a landing, and there we are. The one downside is that this airlock door doesn't reach all the way to the ground now. And I'm thinking about switching this out, swapping these plates, these tiles out for like a little ladder piece. So this can be a little ladder to allow crew people to get out of the airlock and reach the ground if they happen to be landing somewhere. Of course, the other option is that they might be in space, in which case it doesn't matter where the ramp goes. May as well just be like a little platform. Anyway, so that's it. That's the Space Bus. And I'll just show off real quick. Here's leftover parts. There were actually quite a few. My goal was to use up as many as I could, but I didn't quite make it. So what are you gonna do? Space Bus.